Hey, welcome back to another episode of It's a Football Thing. As always, I'm your host, RJ, and I'm joined by my fellow co-host and champion mates, Scott the Gooner and Rob the Red Devil. How are we this evening, gentlemen? I'll go to you first, Scott.
Doing well, my man. Doing well. It's, school holidays, chilling out, being at home. Can't complain.
Beautiful. Robbie?
Yeah, same mate, just home, chilling out. Heaps of Netflix at the moment. So, yeah, not a lot of football talk at the moment. It's a bit quiet, but that's why I always look forward to talking with you guys.
I hear you're karate chopping your way through a very good series at the moment there, Robbie. I'm sure we can touch on that a little bit later, but
100%.
Sensational show, that one, by the way. I wonder if you can guess what pun I'm thinking about. But tonight, big ticket items. Liverpool's postponement. Do they always get their way? It seems like it, but I'm sure we'll get some disagreement, staunch disagreement, but not from us three, I'm sure. Chelsea had a very comfortable and controlled victory against Spurs in the first leg of the semi-final EFL Cup. Romelu Lukaku, very authentic and genuine interview. I'm sure the boys will agree. And it's just been another crazy week since the episode on Tuesday. But Scott, why don't you kick us off, mate, and introduce you in the chat?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a busy live chat early on. We've got Justin in here, Dieter, good friend of ours. Pleasure to have you here, man. We always love when you're here for a stream. Daniel's here, enjoying that Chelsea win this morning. We've got Tom. We've got Emad. Emad's here, declared our pro club's champion. Concierge is in the house too, no doubt waiting to hear my thoughts on Lukaku. We got Marty here. Marty, if you want to phone in a bit later, mate, would love to hear your views on the game a little bit later on. We've also got Shano here. We've got George here. And we've got Julian here. It's like the Avengers have assembled tonight. If you haven't noticed in the live chat, I've pinned a comment with a link. If you want to join us on stream, you want to come in and speak about one of the topics we've covered or throw a quickfire question or even share something else that's on your mind, all you got to do is click that link. But we won't be opening that up for about 10 or 15 minutes. So we want to have a quick chat first, but feel free. We'll let you know when that's happening. Also got Interworldwide here. Welcome. Fellow Inter fan for you, RJ. That's always nice.
That's right.
Alex, kudos to you for coming. The last one we're going to say hello to before we kickstart, my man Jake from Where the Arsenal. I was on his stream this morning. Just a really thorough tactical breakdown. Jake is the king of tactics and stats. Check that stream out if you get a minute. Jake, if you want to phone in later, talk some Arsenal, you're more than welcome to jump in stream. Boys, let's start with the match this morning. That's really the only football we've got, courtesy of Liverpool. Thanks, guys. What did you see this morning, RJ? Because I didn't get to catch this game.
Oh, well, you missed out on a very controlled and comfortable win in the end for Chelsea. Basically, just to break it down for you, it was both teams, funnily enough, abandoning their three at the back system. I think some of it's attributed to a bit of injuries and COVID, but it was actually a very exciting game. Chelsea, from the outset, had a lot of time on the ball. Jorginho, in particular, and Saul dictating the midfield, like Concierge Crime said. I felt Marcus Alonso, great read to intercept Tanganga's pass and slot in Kai Havertz, who unfortunately, for Sanchez, that is, sent it into his own net. But then the comedy of errors continued for poor old Spurs because Tanganga at it again with a header that bounced ricocheted in off of Davies, I believe. So 2-0 to the Blues, and the first half was totally dominant. 10 shots to none. Harry Kane and Son were basically passengers or absentees the whole game. To their credit, in the second half, they started off with a bit of extra purpose, and they were sort of testing us out a little bit. But a common theme for Chelsea this season, when things aren't going our way, is when we're on top, we fail to put our foot on the throttle. Hakim Ziyech played some superb passes, but was also guilty of a couple of missed gilt-edged chances, along with Timo Werner. Not sure if you guys seen it, but Ziyech's cross-field pass and the touch from Timo, very nice, but unfortunately, Lloris got a hand to it. And in the end, a very healthy 2-0 advantage heading into the second leg. Think you're on mute, Scotty.
I certainly am. Robin, did you see any of this match, my man?
Yeah, look, and I can't say much more than the Chelsea expert, RJ. Look, that was exactly as you said, very dominant first half. Thought they worked, especially the first goal with the intercept, quite well. But like I said, after half time, Spurs had a go, but at half time I nearly turned it off because I thought it's dead. Like I said the other day, as a neutral, I was quite looking forward to this game. Obviously, as a neutral, I was a little bit more in the Conte train. I would like to see Conte get a result. Nothing against Chelsea. I just thought it would have been a little bit more. He had the whole ex Chelsea manager. A little bit of a rivalry there. And look, credit to Chelsea because when you have a home leg, you want to get a clean sheet, number one, and 1 or 2 goals is also a bonus. So for them to go up and give themselves a major foot into the final.
And Kepa too, Robbie. I'm not sure if you saw. Yes. Kepa made a really good save, Scott, right at the end. And as you know, a 2-1 win all of a sudden changed the narrative. So for somebody that had very little to do in the game, credit to him for being fully alert when he was called upon. So
mate, that's what you want from us. A £70 million keeper.
Hey, he doesn't put the price tag on himself, mate.
Yeah.
Leave him
alone. Because both squads. Sorry, Scott, you go.
No, I was going to say, we'll bring Martin in. I know I said we weren't going to open up for about 10-15, but I know that Robbie and I didn't get to watch all of this. So let's bring Martin in to speak about what he saw this morning. Martin, welcome, mate. Nice to have you with us.
How are you guys?
G'day, Martin.
Doing well.
I thought I'd decorate my city for you.
Beautiful. I love it.
Spurs are in the mud.
Man, what happened this morning, man? What did you see? Because in all seriousness, I thought this was going to be really tight this morning, but it doesn't seem like it went that way.
It was the first comment I made was it was totally the opposite to what I thought the game would be. I thought it would be one of those really gritty, hard-fought, kind of 50-50 possession kind of games, and it didn't start that way, and it didn't really go that way for the whole game. We did score twice, and we'll need to do that again to get back into the tie, I guess. But look, we just never seemed to get into the game, and I think some selections were a bit surprising from us. I think not having Dyer at the centre of the defence, we've recently switched to a 3, and he's been the cornerstone of that. And then we go to Stamford Bridge, and we have Devison Sanchez there, who's not played there all season. So it seemed a little bit weird. But the boys didn't turn up. So I thought Son had his worst game probably for the season. Harry wasn't getting service, but was dropping deeper and deeper again. Lucas Moura wasn't as effective. So, people talk about our front 3 and how lethal they can be, but, it was like a wet blanket. There was nothing going on. So, it's only half time. We're 2-0 down, and we're going to the lane for the second part, and the boys need to pick their game up a lot.
I'll be on the Spurs train for that. Don't worry, mate. Anyone to beat Chelsea. But look, I think also the early goal for Chelsea, I think, was a big, deflator for Spurs. After that, I don't think they would have expected an early goal that on, and then to cop the own goal not long after. Like I said, bang, that's the end of the game for me. For me, it was damage control. Don't let them get 3 or 4, just so there is a game to be played on the Spurs return.
On this, I wanted to put this comment to you, Martin, while we've got you. Not that one, wrong one. From Shane. Unpopular opinion, but I think Kane's done. Unless he's playing Malta. Thanks, Shane. He doesn't look interested. What do you think? Do you think that obviously he very publicly wanted to go at the start, and Spurs stood their ground? That's what Daniel Levy does, and you've kept him. Do you think, have you noticed any improvement since Conte's come in, or do you think he just doesn't want to be there?
I think he wants to be there. I think you got to remember we've switched formation too. So Conte's brought in a 3-5-2. Harry's used to being that last line. And I've always said that, to me, Harry's more effective when he comes off the front line, receives the ball, he can play a nice pass through, set up everyone else around him. At the moment, I think Conte is saying, no, you stay up, we'll find you. And I think he's not had a good preseason, hasn't had a preseason. He's just been off the boil. He's come off the back of the Euros. And he just doesn't seem to have that edge, those runs that we've seen do over season for season. So I actually think he'll end up staying for a lot longer. I actually think he'll end up signing another contract at Spurs. I think that boat has sailed him in going somewhere else. Again, who's going to sign him at the moment? I think he's got a couple of goals this year. He's not looking there that he was, and there's lots of other players who are on the market. So, look, I think, you know, we've relied on him so much, obviously, over the last couple of years, and I think that you know, he's pre-season, the Euros, he's just not as sharp. And you know, when we're playing in these kind of games where you need Harry Kane as your focus to score those goals, and it's just not happening. And I put Son in the same bracket too. I think he's really struggled, even over the last 3 or 4 games, to have that cutting edge that we really need going forward. So, yeah, I think he'll stay, but I think he's a quality player. There's no doubt about that. But he's not had a good run up at the jump, as they say.
Martin, before we say good evening and thanks for coming on, just quickly tell us what's going to happen in the next leg.
Oh, jeez. Well, hopefully we'll put him in the other net than our own, so that we'll start with that. Look, I think an early goal for us, and most people would say the same thing. We're playing at home. If they can pack out the place, if we can get an early goal and the fans get behind the team, it could be anything. But, you know, our next, I think before we got Chelsea again in the league. We got the might of Morecambe in the FA Cup on the weekend, and so that worries me just as much as Chelsea, being a Spurs fan.
Don't forget a North
and then we've got the North London derby. So, absolutely. So, you know, we've got one eye on that, I'm sure. I know I certainly do. But no, you know, it's not over. And I've seen enough of us, not from this morning, but from the season so far, that there's enough talent there. If we fire up on the day, well, who knows? So we'll keep fingers crossed, boys, because I know you all bar one want to see Tottenham in that final.
Love your optimism there, Marty.
All bar 2, mate. I'd rather Chelsea in there. Martin, thanks for jumping on.
You want a North London derby final? No worries, guys.
Take care, Martin.
Thanks for jumping on, mate.
Always a pleasure, boys. Let's quickly talk about Arsenal's postponed match because I know we've got a Gunners fan hanging out in the studio waiting to jump in. So we might quickly talk about this and then bring him in just to see what he thinks. But quite frankly, I know we're not allowed to swear on this channel. It's one of our rules. But if I could swear, I would be saying that I'm very unimpressed because Leighton had to forfeit last season. And I know the rules are that the forfeit happens in the early rounds. Aston Villa had to play their kids against Liverpool. Liverpool's other game against, I think it's Leighton, hasn't been postponed. But this one, magically postponed. We don't even know. I think it's 4 confirmed cases of players. Mate, that's how many we had out for the Premier League opener. So is this another case of Jurgen Klopp just getting his way, things going Liverpool's way, or should I stop whinging and just get on with it? Feel free, either of you, to jump in.
Look, I should be the last person because I know if I say something, like United have had a few matches postponed, and you know where I see it. I think the game should go ahead no matter what. I've said it myself for the United. I think if you have to field your academy players and your youth to make the squad, it should be played. Simple as that. I think they're taking advantage a little bit more in this game, considering it's a high-profile game. I think the African Cup of Nations. It's a coincidence at the same time that they've lost.
Very coincidental.
You know that plus their 4 players, whoever they are. You know, and the funny thing is, I know it is a semi-final, but Klopp never likes to field a massive or his full strength 11 anyway. So for me, the game should have went on. It does look dodgy, but again, I'm a United fan, and we've had 2 games postponed already. So I haven't got much to go on.
Yeah, I was pretty annoyed it was granted, only because of that equity for me. I don't care if fixtures are postponed or teams are made to play. I just want consistency. And we've not seen that at all. We haven't seen it in the Premier League. We haven't seen it in the Cups. I just want consistency. Is that too much to ask? RJ, what are your thoughts on it?
It is. Look, like I put it in the private chat, their training ground was closed. Did they get a few more extras? Have they been hit harder by AFCON? Yeah, maybe there's an argument for that. But it's hard to be impartial as a Chelsea fan, knowing the game that we tried to get a postponement from against Wolves when we had 7 COVID cases, plus those injuries as well. It just makes it, like you said, what we want some transparency and clarity as to why is it good enough? At what threshold is it 100% going to be? Because if it is guaranteed, okay, it's 4 or 5 players, whatever, fine. They have no Klopp. Their assistant manager's also out. The training ground's cancelled. They're up against it, right? But at the same time, there's been a lot of other teams who've also had a similar impact and they haven't given the same love. So, yeah, look, if I'm Arsenal, I'd be a bit livid as well, knowing that you had a real opportunity to take them on. And you know what? Liverpool as well, while they've been impacted, they'd have situations where when they are also taking on teams that are being disadvantaged as well. So it doesn't fully balance and offset each other. But, you know, with a team
they
like
didn't
Liverpool,
complain against Villa.
They didn't
last
complain
season.
against that.
Villa
Exactly
played.
right.
Well, I still
They're
remember
kids.
that.
They're kids. Yeah, they
That
played
was
their kids.
men against boys, literally.
Literally, yeah.
It was
Yeah,
anyway.
so they should have just taken their medicine and moved on. But, you know, they obviously decided to dig in their heels, and to their credit, they got the right outcome from their perspective.
Before we bring in Gunners pitch side, and I'll have to catch your name when you jump in. George here. COVID has to be treated as another injury. Otherwise, the league will never be able to move on.
Agreed.
Dan Hill. Evening, Dan. Nice to have you with us. If you want to jump in and say hello, man, feel free. Very much a case of Liverpool getting their way. What other team gets the preferential treatment they do? Look, it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue that they do get some preferential treatment. Emad, when your manager starts to win as much as Klopp, you might get a look in. Credit to Arteta. I remember that he came out after our opening game of the season and said no excuses. Like there are no excuses. You play, the players are out there, they should do the job. Yeah. And then we'll go 2 more comments. Do the players coming back from AFCON need to follow quarantine? I'm not 100% sure on how it's working in the UK.
You should get 3-4 months quarantine, I think.
I agree.
If they were in Australia, they may not get a visa coming back.
Oh, that's a separate point, mate.
We'll talk
hey,
about
no jokers tonight, right, boys?
They leave no vax alone, mate.
Mate, the joker is on him. And Concierge, try being Chelsea, we get crapped on by race. Look, fair enough. I'm going to bring in our man Gunners pitch side, who's been waiting really patiently at the back. I'm sure he might have some thoughts on this being postponed. Just a reminder, if you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe. We do this twice a week. We don't always phone in, but we would love to get 500 subs soon. So please join. Hit like on the video as well and a comment. All of that helps. Welcome to the stream. You'll have to tell us your name. We didn't catch your name before, and let us know what you think about this fixture.
It's Louis.
Welcome.
Yeah, Louis.
Hello, guys. Hello. Good result for Chelsea last night. Excellent.
Pretty proud of that, Louis, to be honest with you, as I said. So
should have been more.
We double up. We should have. I know. It's just a curious case of Chelsea at the moment, but we'll take our 2-0 and move on to next week or next week.
Yeah. The thing is, it's a good result, but Conte. I'll address the Liverpool Arsenal situation in a second, but the thing with Spurs is Conte seems to have them purring at home, but I see their weaknesses away from home. And when they come up against the better sides, we see their deficiencies.
Yeah.
And obviously the North London derby's coming up, and Arsenal need a midfielder in the next week because we've got Lukaku and Xhaka, and that's it. Because we've
Louis,
just let Maitland-Niles go to Roma on loan. So,
would you take Jack Wilshere back for the short term?
No.
Not on a basic play.
I love Jack Wilshere and all that, but I think a Wijnaldum would be more the sort of player. A Champions League winner, Premier League winner, someone with experience. Wilshere has got experience, but he's been out of the game for so long.
What about someone like Fred, Louis? Fred's quality, mate. Robbie would be happy to transport Fred over from your
I'll drive him to the airport.
No, you can keep Fred, mate. You can keep Fred.
Louis, before we move on, man, let us know what are your thoughts on this fixture being postponed? Is this
Well-
Liverpool getting their way?
Funny enough, right? I was on Twitter. Do you know a YouTube? Do you watch the Big Six?
Yeah, I do.
Matisse,
Yeah.
Sissoko,
Grizz Khan, you know Grizz, Liverpool. Yeah. Well, I was on somehow. Well, I follow him on Twitter, and he had a live chat going on with loads of Liverpool fans, right, all screaming for the game to be called off, right. And I goes on there, and they goes, "What about you? You know, an Arsenal opinion?" And I'm like, "What? Me?" Out of like 1,000 people, they chose me to talk on there, and I said, "Well, you know, why should the game be postponed? You know, okay, African nations, we both got players missing, and then Grizz comes in and goes, yeah, you got El Neni, you got Pepe, you got Partey." I'm thinking, only Partey plays in the Premier League. You know, El Neni's a sub, last minute sub, and Pepe's a Carabao Cup, FA Cup player at the moment. You know, so they've lost Salah, they've lost Mane. That's why they don't want to play us.
They're clearly more impacted than us, but I mean, we need.
They
consistency.
said that they had no goalkeepers. They're both the keepers that got it. Well, play an academy goalkeeper then. Surely they've got
Kelleher
a
played the other
goalkeeper.
day. Kelleher played against us.
Yeah, tough luck.
Yeah,
man.
good
That's it.
game.
Play whoever's available. Simple as you have 3 goalkeepers, play
Yeah.
the third keeper.
I mean, you know, everyone was laughing at us the first game of the season when we lost to Brentford. But look at the team, man. It was depleted. Absolutely depleted. No one gave a damn about us, you know. We were banner FC.
Mate, that's
until
because they're scared.
you know.
Scared of us, Louis. They're scared. But look, I want to ask you one question before we let you go, because we appreciate you coming on.
Okay,
and
mate.
We hope we see you back more often. Where are Arsenal going to finish at the end of the season?
4th, mate.
Come on, you Gunners. Let's hope
We're going to get it, man.
It's been a pleasure.
I just think Man U have the best individuals, but collectively we're the better team.
Yeah.
I just think we're going to do it.
Let's hope you're right, Louis. Thanks for jumping on, mate. We appreciate it. Take care.
Nice to meet you, Louis. See you next
See you
time.
later, guys.
Yeah, mate.
All right, boys. We are going to talk Man United soon too, but while we've started Chelsea, let's just finish up. And I know Declared's backstage at the moment. Dan's backstage too. I have a feeling, you know what? Let's bring them in while we talk about this, hey? Let's bring both in. Declared, Dan, how you going, boys?
What's going on?
Doing what? Look, I'm going to start first, and Dan, you know where I'm going with this, because you and I, we had some good Twitter back and forward about this issue with the Lukaku apology.
Dan smashed you, mate, by the way.
I was
Completely
eating
had
my
it over you,
popcorn
mate.
live at home for this. I was just
Good on you,
sitting there eating
Dan.
my
Stuck it
popcorn.
to
was
him.
good.
Scott tried to be his vicious Arsenal, but he had no ammo, mate. You smashed him.
Look, I wouldn't say he smashed me. I think it was pretty balanced debate. But we had Lukaku come out with this apology through Chelsea social media. The point I was trying to make, because let's face it, you lot have put so much nonsense on us over the years, right? And as Arsenal fans, that's cool. You can call us a banner club. But to me, as an outsider looking at that video, I thought it was genuinely embarrassing. And I'm going to tell you why. Just hear me out. I think it was embarrassing because it was completely unnecessary. Nobody is stupid enough to believe that Lukaku is genuinely sorry for the words he said. He might be sorry for the ramifications, but I don't think anyone believes he's genuinely apologetic for it. So you know it was forced. His actions need to speak louder than his words. I think they made it a bigger issue than it needed to be. All he needed to do was copy his punishment, whatever that may have been internally, then rock back up and start banging in goals, which is what he's paid very handsomely to do. Dan, you don't think it was embarrassing?
No, I don't think it was embarrassing at all. No, I think it was for me. He took he took to a public setting to basically express his love for Inter, having just signed for Chelsea. I think, and in terms of a punishment, the equal thing to do is to redress what he said and sort of set the record straight and say, okay, this is what I said, but I need to apologize. I am committed to Chelsea. It's important, even if he doesn't necessarily believe it 100%, for the Chelsea fans. It's almost putting, like, not paying lip service, but kind of putting, setting the record straight, as it were. Because I think if you're going to be Chelsea's number 9 and you're going to, fulfill your 5-year contract, it's important to set the record straight and to know that the club is in control.
Declared, you were embarrassed, weren't you? We were talking last night.
Of course I was embarrassed. I mean, like, why do you need to do the interview in the first place? Why do you need to address Inter fans? 4 months earlier, he was saying he wanted to retire at Chelsea and talked up he's coming home and all that. And then he contradicted himself in one interview that he didn't need to do. For me, Lukaku's too smart to be this dumb. That's how I looked at it. And that apology looked like he was reading off a teleprompter. But it was probably needed because it was built up so much. But it just keeps falling over. I've been saying he's got to do his apology on the pitch. And at the time he did the interview, he claimed he was fit and he was on the bench, right? And he was unhappy. Now, he separated himself with some words from Tuchel and from the bad results, right? And that's what I had the biggest issue about. And the way he talked about Inter and the way he talked about clubs, and he made it clear that he only came for money, right? And this was the biggest issues I had. So my only apology that I accept is that he keeps Tuchel in the job. That's the only apology I want. If he puts on a consistent performance that keeps Tuchel in the job, because that's what he was trying to do, because just like Man United and some of our other clubs, right? Player power has been issue in a lot of different clubs, and I think that was a little player power flex. That's how I felt when he did the interview and what he said. So the only apology for me is he has to put on consistent performance, and if he wants to leave in the near future, like he said, then you can leave. But
I think,
Yeah.
Let RJ go first.
Yeah, I'm on both sides of the camp here. Let me explain here. It's part of a process. What he said was the magnitude was bad. It was very bad, no matter which way you twist and turn it. And I'm an Inter fan. I obviously wasn't convinced with what he said. The way I saw it was just part of something that needed to be done for formality purposes, because we wanted some closure. He needed to, even if it was a forced thing, come out and say something, because silence just breeds more anger within the community, because surely we want to hear something. How often do you hear companies when they make mistakes or they've had to recall a product, they don't just recall things, they apologize for them, because that's just good corporate governance. That's what Chelsea has done. Their biggest asset has made a big blunder PR-wise. He needed to come out and publicly apologize for it. But now that we've put that in a nice little box and packaged that to the side, we've now got a bit of closure. And as Declared and Dan have said, and everybody on Chelsea Twitter, the real sorry comes in terms of his performance on the field. But it was just important that we got that out of the way. And there was actually one quote in the interview that I thought, okay, he wrote, I think I should have been clearer in my message. The interview was about saying goodbye to Inter fans. It was not about trying to disrespect the fans, the football club, the owner, my teammates, and the manager. Obviously, we know as Chelsea fans, Dan Declared and I, he made a grievous error in judgment and said the things he said. But at least we've seen a human side from him. He said what he's had to say, whether or not that the Chelsea PR guy's written it for him. He's done his business, and now let's all close the book and not let this noise distract us, because it's already done enough damage to be concerned.
Dan, I know
RJ,
you wanted to respond.
Yeah,
I was going to say, sorry, Dan.
Sorry, Declared. The thing for me is that, like RJ has said, as like Declared said, that the meat and drink of Lukaku's apology, as it were, will come on the pitch. So words are just words. But I think the thing is, for me, from my perspective, Chelsea has, as a club, historically is one that suffered under the weight of player power. And I think in this point, just getting Lukaku to come in front of a camera, having backed Tuchel, the whole club and the board and the hierarchy and all of them sort of being annoyed and angered by this, just the whole idea of having him in front of a camera, having to go through that process, is just, for me, is important in the sense of drawing a line under this and making it known that Tuchel is the man in charge. The club are the ones in control, and we will not be bullied by someone in our squad. Especially our club record signing. So for me, it's as much about making a statement as it is just sort of paying lip service to this apology.
Go on, Declared.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more to it, and it's not gone away. These are like seeds, and then when bad results, you put water and they grow, right? This didn't start with Lukaku. This started with Conte. When Conte said that Tuchel didn't know, or he actually said Chelsea didn't know how to use Lukaku.
Yeah,
that's when. Yeah, and that's when our bad results came. That's when everyone just started saying, "Oh, well, we weren't playing to his strengths. We're not playing properly." And now Lukaku put gasoline on that fire too, right? And he's repeated the same thing. Now, what's going to happen is now we got a good result. Maybe we get a couple more. We're going to forget about it, especially if Lukaku plays well. But as soon as we start losing, right, or as soon as Lukaku does bad, all this comes up again, right? And he's set a, what do we call that, benchmark? He set a standard now, right, with those comments, and this is always going to come up if we have a bad run, and it's going to linger there. And I'm not sure how you get rid of it unless we forget about it in the off seasons. Unless if Chelsea go on such a great run, we are going to forget about it. But I guarantee you, if we start losing, all this is going to come back and worse.
But that would have happened anyway, Declared. I'll put this to you.
Yeah.
If he doesn't make that interview and he's just, Romelu as usual, and he doesn't deliver on the pitch, he's going to get criticised by the fan base anyway. If anything, this is just fast forwarded that process. And now every time he plays, we're going to expect a little bit more from him, knowing he's basically backstabbed us as fans. But for us now, the way, and I've said this to Scott, I've said this to Rob, he's an employee of Chelsea Football Club. There is no narrative. There is no dream return, second coming. Pack it all up and throw it out the window. We've paid someone a handsome salary. It's time to just do your talking on the field and just respect the club and the fan base. Full stop. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah, you're right, Jay. It's taking the emotion. Lukaku, he can say, "I love Chelsea" and all that. No one's going to believe him no more. You know what I mean? It's just pure business now. Do your business. Don't do your business. There's no, he's a Chelsea boy. Like every word that was said before he came, he's part of the club. He feels for the club, that he wants to retire. Nah, it's like exactly what you said. It's pure business. You don't score, that's it. We're gonna go turn on you. If you score, we're gonna praise you. That's it. If you want to leave, go. And there's almost zero emotion out of it now.
Dan, let's just we'll wrap this segment up in a minute because we still got to talk Man United and the carnage over there. We might get Robbie, just quickly, if you want to make a comment, and then Dan, if you want to wrap up your thoughts on it. Robbie, you enjoying your popcorn?
It was good, man. And like I said, I was talking to Tommy Tuchel before because he just lent me the weapon he was using as I was doing the interview behind Lukaku's back. So he handed me that for the evidence. But anyway, look, for me, it was cringy for me, and it was so set up. But I understand both sides of the coin. As Dan said, he's come out and the club's trying to take control of the situation. For me, I'm a United fan. I know Lukaku. Every time he gets signed by a new club and scores a goal, he kisses the badges. Oh, I love the club. I love this. I love that. For me, the worst thing he said about that is how much he praised it. You can have a connection to another club. Yes, he won his big trophy there and stuff like that. But for someone who just was a marquee signing, $100 million, whatever it was, 5-year contract, for him to come out so early on and say, I don't like the system. This is not happening. I love Inter the city. I love the fans. I'm going to come back there. Like, for me, if I was a fan, I'll be spewing right now. I'm sure there's a way of saying a goodbye or thanks to the Inter fans, but not in this, especially of late when he was on the bench, he wasn't fit, and Chelsea weren't having the greatest of results. So for me, it looked a bit, put a gun to his head. You have to come out and you have to address this. I actually think Tommy Tuchel, he's done a class act. He's handled the situation more classy, a lot more obviously than Lukaku. But look, it's for me as an outsider, it looked a bit cringe. I don't know. Like I said, you guys got the heart on the sleeve for the Chelsea fans. But like I said, everyone called us out when Oli had he got sacked and he came out. For me as a United fan, I enjoyed that. So like I said, everyone's going to have different emotionals on
I
different.
think that's slowly different, though. Ollie was sacked. He was asked to leave. He's come out and thanked everybody for his time there, which I respect Ollie. I respect Ollie for doing that. But Lukaku's situation was, like I said, from a business point of view, he's made a mistake from the business. He had to take accountability and apologize for it. Whether he meant it or not, who cares? Process, you have to come out and apologize for what you've done. Hopefully you feel a bit ashamed, because you should feel ashamed. And now let your business on the field do the talking. But Tommy Tuchel, like you said, Rob, Scott, everybody, he's the one that's come out of this all roses, because he looks like a guy who's taken a situation that's quite perilous and uncertain, can be quite destabilizing, and he's shown both authority and care for Lukaku, because all of his quotes say, we respect the situation, we need to understand it wasn't intentional, even if he doesn't believe all of that. From a public point of view, Chelsea's looks like their business is now being dealt with in-house. And that's a good leader, and that's why we're blessed to have him at our club.
Dan, closing thoughts. Where to from here?
Just want to where to from here. Well, yeah, like I think I really like, for me, two things about the whole situation. Is number one, what RJ said in your previous show, that this is it's now a transactional relationship with Lukaku. You know, it's we're dealing in goals and assists. There's no more kissing the badge. There's no more, I love this club. None of that rubbish. And the sad thing is that if the conversation comes one day for him to be considered a Chelsea legend, if he leads us to a couple of Premier League titles and maybe like another Champions League, I'm talking hypotheticals here, but this will come up in his against him, you know, as if to say, well, you said this, but you know, you ultimately did that, you know. And the second thing that I really enjoyed was Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank's comments on this, in the sense that if you loved Inter so much, why didn't you say to them, well, pay me half my wages and I'll stay? You know? So I mean that
can't all be like Messi.
Can't.
You know what, Dan? Just before we wrap it up, what Romelu's done is he could now be Golden Boot 5 seasons in a row and win trophies every season, but he can never be thought of as a Chelsea legend just because of what he's done to himself now.
That's exactly.
So that's a scar enough. That's a scar enough for someone to have to accept now that no matter how good you are in the field, it's purely transactional, because we know how you really feel.
And he fell into the perfect narrative in the sense that he came back as this sort of coming back to my boyhood club, unfulfilled, unfinished business. He had the whole narrative laid out for him, and he sort of messed it all up, you know, as it were.
Hey, Dan, but before we chuck over to Declared for him to give his closing thoughts, just tell everyone where they can find you as well.
Yeah, sure. You can find me on Twitter. You can see my handle over there. Thanks again, lads, for all the support. And we've got to run a little podcast. It's quite similar to this, but we tend to waffle a lot more than you guys. And it's at Aish, another football podcast on Twitter. You find us at EISH Football Pod on Twitter. I'm actually recording a podcast tonight with Nick from that Chelsea pod. We're doing a little bit of a Chelsea transfer special. So it would be really
another great supporter and content creator as well.
Great. So thanks again for all the support, lads, and thanks for having me on. Always great to chat football with you guys.
All good, and please subscribe to their podcast, guys. They're basically the South African version of us, where we're so similar. Much. Chelsea, United, and Arsenal. I love it. You just have better accents.
Nah, I don't know about that. You guys have much better palates than us. Like, I don't even want to discuss food because your palates are so much more discerning than mine.
Well, thank you, Dan, for jumping in.
Awesome. Cool. Take care, lads. All the best. Yeah. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Declared, you were spitting facts before, man. Give us your kind of closing thoughts. You've heard what everyone had to say. Wrap it up on your end for us.
Well, I couldn't agree more. If you want more facts, hey, one theory that I've been spitting out that was saying that he got COVID at the same time in the interview, so he didn't help himself on top of all that. One thing I want to add, because everything about Lukaku has been said, and I don't know how much more we can say about it. But speaking of the games that got postponed as well, did you guys hear that they could be played in the January international break?
January international break. There is no January international break, is there?
Yeah, they made one, 24th to the 2nd.
Yeah?
Yeah, the back end, I think.
It's just
that's recent news, and that's what's being talked about. And that adds a whole issue to itself. You know, which teams have more international players, and they have to go, apparently, if they get called up.
it's such a mess. I don't know. I don't know where to from here, but I think George summed it up before. We have to treat it as an injury now.
Yep.
Yeah, or you know how some players get the flu and miss out games? The same way.
It's an illness.
Because there's a lack of clarity. I've been saying what RJ was saying. Clarity. Say what the rules are. Say if 4 players out, or if you can field this many players, then you're meant to play. And so we know, because it's team by team basis, and then there's a massive inconsistency. So we don't know.
Declared, it's a pleasure, man. You go do
boys.
some training for pro clubs. You've been
I will.
banging.
Hey, when's RJ coming? When's RJ coming?
I'm too busy. I'm too busy pretending to write good articles, mate. Give me a break.
Declared, take it easy.
All right, see you guys. Thanks.
See you, Declan.
Always a pleasure. I love these phone-in shows, guys. They're so much fun. Now, I'm going to bring in our next speaker. Robbie probably won't be as quiet during this.
Use the pun,
segment.
Scott.
Sorry?
Use the pun, mate. Need the pun.
Okay, all right. When I originally put this tweet out, RJ messaged me asking if I forgot a word. But the question is, are Manchester United? And that's something I want to bring in Tom from the United Pubcast to speak about in just a sec. If any of the other United crew in the chat want to jump in, you're more than welcome. Tom, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, g'day, boys. Very well. Thank you for having me on. I was hoping I'd missed the United's chat. I had to go away for 10 minutes. I thought you'd cover it a little bit earlier, but unfortunately...
No, we were waiting, man.
We said, actually, Tom, we've got to wait for Tom to get back so we can make sure he's part of it, mate.
Hey, and before we get into it, I just quickly want to acknowledge a couple of people in the live chat. Guys from the football capital. Why do people at the club let players do interviews with other broadcasters and approve it? I mean, that's such a good point. And if you haven't checked out the Football Capital, check out their channel as well. They do amazing content. I know I get over and watch as much of it as I can. Check them out too. It's good to support our fellow Aussie podcasters and YouTubers. So check those guys out. George, oh dear, time for the group therapy to start. More like Manchester divided. There we go. Look, I know you guys just did a stream on this, Tom, so you're not going to want to waffle too much, but there's been a lot coming out in the media lately about Manchester United and the players and the vibe and Ralph Rangnick. One thing that you and I were kind of discussing the other day is the Glazers. I'm not understanding, and I want you to explain it to me because I know that if anyone can, you can. I want you to explain to me why the main source of blame is the Glazers when they've so heavily invested. They bought you your vanity signing that you all wanted. No one wanted Ronaldo at City except me. That they backed that team. They trusted Ollie, which most fans wanted to do for a while. Explain to me your thoughts on the Glazers because I'm not even bantering. I genuinely don't get it.
Look, it's a hard thing. I'm going to start this by saying I'm a complete hypocrite. Here I am with a Man United top on. I've got the $400 Lego set, so I put money in the Glazers' pocket. I understand I'm a hypocrite. That's been a part of a football fan. The easiest way to get rid of the Glazers is to not fund them.
You're an enabler, Tom, mate. You're an enabler.
Like 75,000 other people every week at Old Trafford. They're taking advantage of football fans. But you mentioned that and you talk about they have invested heavily. And yes, on the outlook, you do see that, and that you look at a transfer kitty and the transfer budget and the amount spent on players, and yes, they have invested. However, since the Glazers came in 2005, and when did Roman Abramovich come in, RJ? That was 2004, was it?
1905, mate. No, just kidding. 03, 04.
03, 04, so roughly the same time being in, and I don't know what Abramovich has put in. RJ would have far closer details than me, but I've assumed probably in these 15 years, 16 years type thing, well over £1 billion. I think it's around £1.5 billion, probably a bit under £2 billion. Manchester City have put in £2 billion. Do you know how much the Glazers have invested in Manchester United? Not a penny. They have not put one penny into the club. They have taken out £2 billion, not invested £2 billion. £2 billion has gone out of the club. So for the last 10 years, our front three really, if we're just talking football and football revenue and football brand and football business, our front three over the last 10 years should have been Ronaldo, Messi and Neymar. However, when we sold Carlos Tevez and Cristiano Ronaldo, that 80 million wasn't reinvested in the squad. We sold Ronaldo, sold Tevez. We brought in Michael Owen and Gabriel Obertan. And that was the direction the club was going in. Ferguson knew that. You look the last time we won the Premier League title. Cleverley and Anderson were our two midfielders. They were our two midfielders when we last won the title. This has been happening for a while, and we were finally paying the price for the poor management. We had it masked by Sir Alex Ferguson all those years just because he had such a stronghold over the club. As soon as he left, an absolute mess. And I just look on the pitch when we watch a game, yes, it is on the players, it is on the manager. They're the ones who have to take the blame. But I want you to look upstairs and look at when David Moyes left. Look at the situation we were in when David Moyes left. Look, Louis van Gaal came in. Look at the situation Louis van Gaal left us in. Jose Mourinho came in. Look at the situation we were left in when Jose Mourinho left. Exactly the same with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came in. He left. Look at the situation. The exact same situation we were left in with different players and with different managers. What's the one constant? It's upstairs, and it's where the sort of the rot starts. It's the culture they set by not wanting to win football matches. Their business interests are elsewhere, and it's a nightmare. That's where it starts from. So yes, the players need to take responsibility, and the managers need to be better, etc. But the culture is rotten to the core, and that only starts at the top, in my opinion.
I'm going to bring in George as well, who's jumped on backstage. George, welcome, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, guys. Thanks for having us.
Always a pleasure to have our United friends on here. Robbie, I want to go to you before George. A couple of comments from the live chat that I want to bring your attention to. This one from the man himself, George. The Glazers supply money but don't appoint the right people. Crazy Diamond. United has spent $1 billion. Wherever it comes from, the issue is with recruitment. Where's the key part of the issue? Do you think the Glazers need to take all the blame? Robbie, do you think it's time for the players? How do you feel about it, man? Because to me, I look at your squad and I would be putting the boot into those players. I would tear the squad apart, have a season or two of mediocrity and rebuild and go again. Robbie?
I told you, you can't. It's so hard to point the finger. But like I said, upstairs is a problem, and it's going to be like that. And I don't see it changing anytime soon because there's two things with that. Number one, if we do get our wish one day and the Glazers do go, you never know who's going to come in and buy the club. It could be a Mike Ashley for all we know, and it could be a worse situation. Then what's going to happen? Everyone's going to scream, bring the Glazers back. You bring the Glazers back kind of thing. So, like I said, they like to put a team on the paper that's going to sell shirts, that's going to look good. I told you, it's a FIFA team for them. They're not worried about winning trophies. They just want to win bank account details and fill their pockets. The team, we all know how player power is at the moment. We've gone through numerous managers for the same thing. And I told you last week, we're going round and round in circles. And I'm up to a point, I don't know what's going to fix the problem. Like I said, yes, we're getting money in, but then we look like, we fit second last year. We pumped money into it. I was more than happy. I thought we were really going to be in the title challenge this year. We've gone backwards by a mile. And then you say, you look at our paper, at the end of the season or in the next two windows, I can actually see half this team leaving for age, for not being happy, and for numerous other, could have a new manager. He might bring his ideas and he wants to bring his players in, so other players might have to go out. So all we're doing, like I said, round and round and round about, nothing, we've got a project that never gets finished. I've said this before. Klopp came in, and for years and years, Liverpool were 15, 16. They barely, sometimes they made fourth. I feel like we're sitting around there, except Klopp, you could see the players he's bought and the way they bought and the business they do. And look, they won a Premier League and a Champions League. After 30 years, they won the Premier League. Us, we spend the money. I told you, we fall back into Europa League. What happens? They give us money. We get back to Champions League, and they're all happy again. That's their Champions League or the fourth spot for them is a trophy for them. For us that have been spoiled for the past 2 decades, I want trophies. I sound like a sport brat, but I grew up since 22 years. I've been a United fan, and under Fergie, that's all we really know. So since Fergie's left, all this round and round in circles, it just drives us crazy, and I don't know what the solution is.
George, a lot to take in, man. What do you make of the situation at United at this point in time?
Well, obviously it's not ideal under Glazer ownership, but
George, I'm just going to cut you off for a tick. Your audio is just a little bit unclear. I don't know if the phone's a bit far from you. Let's try.
Sorry,
now.
Just test that now.
Perfect. Yeah,
all good.
So
obviously Glazer ownership isn't ideal, but the reality is there with the financial backing that we do get, there is possibility for success so long as that money is invested wisely, and that comes down to having the right people in the right places to use it. And that's where I think the quality of Ferguson really shone through in his last 8 years in his reign under Glazer ownership, where through such poor mismanagement, he was able to still win the Premier League 3 times in a row and win the Champions League. And I can almost look at Klopp at Liverpool doing the same thing, because Fenway Sports Group are a similar ownership style model to the Glazers. It's just that Klopp has got that stranglehold on that club and has been able to do what he's done with that club. As for getting rid of the Glazers, because it's easy to say, stop buying merchandise, don't rock up to games. But United are too big for a club to even work, for that to even work, because for every person that doesn't go to the game, there's 10 waiting to go in. And all the revenue for most of these big clubs comes in TV money. So the only way to realistically do anything is, or it's not even realistic, it's like saying to everyone, stop watching the games. We're not going to do that.
It's hard. I don't know. Look, for me, and RJ, I don't know if you agree, I think the most important signing United could make is a top-notch director of football.
But
That's what I think.
That's what we just bought Ralph
That
Rangnick.
is.
That's the whole point we bought him in for.
Ralph Rangnick right now is not your director of football.
No,
and if
but
he
he's
is
come
gonna-
in
you
because
can't
we sacked the manager for 6 months. We needed someone to come in, do a job, and then say, hey, move upstairs and try and build us a project, because we haven't had a football or a director of football ever.
Ragnick, by the time he gets up there, the way it's going, and RJ, we'll get your thoughts on this before we bounce back to Tom. I'm not concerned about it because I couldn't care less if United aren't winning. But if Ragnick does damage now, which he is going to do, if you believe the media reports, which I take with a pinch of salt, if he's doing this much damage, what's going to happen when he's director of football? Is that damage going to follow him on and make it difficult for him to do his job? RJ, do you think it could have an impact when he does move into that role?
Well, like you said, Scott, if these public rumours are coming out about some bit of unrest and players questioning certain methodologies, etc., and, is it from now? The way you've got to look at it is short to medium term. In the short term, it's from now to the end of the season. It's how much damage control can there be put in place now, so there's not too much, chasing up to be done at the end of the season. If they can finish off on a semi-good note, then it's okay. Not a great season. We've got Ralph in his proper role because that's where he belongs, and we'll get a proper manager who oversees the operational side. And Ralph can go and take care of the boardroom and be that bridge between the manager and the board. But the problem is you've got to worry about the here and now. So it's a tough one. I totally get the frustration. Robbie, Tom, and George have said all in very similar yet complementary ways. But unfortunately, there's no silver bullet. Like United were getting some positive results in the honeymoon period under Ralph. They've had that obviously hit the brick wall the other day. But are fans as well sometimes a little bit too precious and reactionary? Like, is this just a one-off? Could he bounce back and get 2 or 3 wins on the trot? All of a sudden, Ralph's imprint is starting to show again. So, unfortunately, being a fan of a big club like Manchester United, you have these high expectations. And when they're not met, I can talk from experience as well, we are spoiled. So I feel for you on one hand, but equally, it's just the players, and this is where I lie with Scott the most here. You can't influence too much what's happening in the boardroom because the Glazers have been there. They've got their ownership model in place. The boys on the field can only worry about what they do. So, you know what I mean? They've just got to ride the wave for the end of the season. Hopefully they can do a bit of a clean out and then start again fresh next season.
Tom, I'm going to come to you, but I'm going to bring Emad in. We're putting lots of faces to names tonight on It's a Football Thing. I'm enjoying it. We're outnumbered, RJ. Too many Man United fans. We'll bring in Emad. Emad, we'll start with Tom, then we'll come to you. Remember, I've told you already in the private chat, we've got to keep this clean, okay? And we are going to wrap this one up in about 5 minutes, guys. So, Tom, you've heard a few different ideas from us. Where are you at with things right now before we go to Emad?
Yeah, Rob made a point in regards to the cycle. We're going to sack a manager, we bring a new one in, then there's a bounce, and you think what's going to happen. But we talk about what the Glazers' motives are and sort of their business, and they want money. The Glazers aren't making money off United's revenues. It's pittance to them. What they make their money off is sort of the off stock exchange, the stock market, and the club. So they make the money off the valuation of Man United as an asset and through the transactions. If you look at the Glazers' personal fortune, where they have earned their most of their money, it's off the back of sacking managers. That is where they're sort of in and around the stock market, which I don't have a firm grasp of. But you listen to the people in that field, and they talk about in terms of buying and selling shares when our price does fluctuate. That is when they earn their biggest sort of crust. So you can understand it's in their best interest to continue the same model and not sort of introduce football people. So everyone's saying Ralph Rangnick is going into this consultancy role. Says who? Ralph Rangnick said he doesn't know what's happening. You can very well see a situation where he doesn't go into that consultancy role, or he does, and it's simply not influential. So it's a never-ending cycle. And yes, the players need to take responsibility. They're the ones kicking the ball. The manager needs to take responsibility. He's the one picking the team. But ultimately, these are the same problems for 15 years. They're even cracking under Ferguson. We'll have him protest in 2009 and 2010. As I said, when we sold Ronaldo and we're bringing in Gabriel Obertan as the replacement, or Michael Owen as the replacement for Carlos Tevez. This has been happening for a while, and this is why we're paying the price now. It's a never-ending cycle, and yes, the players can improve, but ultimately, you need to cut it off at the top.
Tom, always a pleasure, man. We appreciate you coming in and speaking Glazers and giving your insights. Again, check out the United podcast where Tom does his work. Make sure you sub to them. Let's support each other.
Cheers, lads.
How are you, boys?
Brother. Where are you at?
My question, and I'm surprised actually, like you let Tom go there. I wanted him to answer. My question is, why is it our ownership comes under question every time we go on a bad run of form?
George, you want to take that one, or Robbie?
Yeah, I'll take this one. It's because
no, hold on, George. Before you start, let me just make a point. Because when Ollie was in charge, and when he was given the interim manager's role, and we went on that fantastic new manager bounce, there was silence about the Glazers. We were buzzing. We were winning games. We beat that night in Paris. We went on a mad run. We gave him the full-time job. The only time the Glazers ownership gets mentioned is when we're on a shit run of form.
Yep.
I feel like the reason that's the case.
And what our issue is, right? And I know I want you to answer it, but just let me get this out because our issue, we need to stop blaming managers, right? Because it's the same it's the same players, right, who put in these piss poor performances week after week, right? This team finished second last season. Then we went and recruited Varane, Sancho, Ronaldo, and that was under Ollie. Right, and that's bolstered the squad, and then they've gone and thrown him under the bus, and now they're doing the same to Rangnick, and he's only been there 5 games, and we have to put up with this stuff every week. We wake up at 4:00 in the morning and watch this, and we're going to blame the Glazers. I don't see Joel Glazer running around on the pitch, man, kicking the ball. We've supposedly got the greatest of all time playing up front, and we're going to blame Joel Glazer.
It's an interesting way to think about it, Matt. And obviously, when you watch your team and when it's your club, you feel that passion and that hurt in a different way. And
Mate, I could not care less who owns our club. I couldn't care if it was Joel Glazer or Osama bin Laden. If my team's winning, man, I could not care less.
I'm annoyed I did let Tom go. I'm not sure why I did that. But Tom, with a good point before we go to you, George, the fans are wrong to be silent during good periods. That's certainly true. But George, your thoughts. Let's go to Georgie.
I agree with Tom on that. And Tom alluded to it earlier. We just keep going through the same cycle. And the reason why our ownership always comes into question when we have a bad run is because our fans are notorious for bringing it up when we're in a bad run. So we almost shoot ourselves in the foot with that regard. With regards to Rangnick and what's going on there, as Tom said earlier, we don't actually know what's going on. Rangnick doesn't know either. My concern with the Rangnick appointment is that, yes, I like Rangnick. He's a good football person. But 6 months ago, there was no, when Ole was meant to be leading us to a title, there was no thought of even having Rangnick come in. So that means we've just stumbled over him. And the same way that we stumbled over this good football person, we may just stumble off of him and not give him the power and the authority that he needs to have his imprint be hopefully a positive one on the club.
Robbie, what do you think?
Look, hey, mate, what are you going to do, mate? Are you going to sack managers go and get thrown under the bus all the time because that's the easiest thing to do. Simply, one manager out the door, you're going to bring a new guy in, and straight away, the fans are going to get happy. There's going to be a manager bounce. Or what are you going to do? You're going to sell half a team. It's just not going to work like that.
Why?
And that's
Why not? Why not, Robbie? City done it. Pep did it.
Pep done it all in one.
Didn't win anything the first season at City. He shipped
Yeah.
half of them out and bought a whole new squad.
Okay, because but then you look at their thing, the Sheik there. He's invested in the club and he wants to win trophies. You can clearly see the difference.
I understand
Like
that,
Tom said,
and
one set's pulling out the money and the other one's pumping it in, building not just a squad. He's building the youth. He's putting facilities around the area. He's building the whole. He wants to try and match what we are. He wants City to become Manchester United. So he's pumping the money in, and they're getting the results. It's clear as day. He's got a world-class manager, and he's got and now because he's built that, and like exactly how we were 10 years ago, that's players want to go to Manchester City sometimes now over Manchester United. Why? Because they're winning trophies.
I understand that, Robbie, right? But when we finished second last season, mate, right, and then we've made these new signings at the start of this season, right? How pumped were we on paper? Yeah, going, wow, this team's going. I understand, but hold on a second. This team's going to challenge, yeah. But then these players on paper have come onto the field, right, and played worse than another six side, and then we're going to turn around and go, oh no, it's the Glazers again. We can't do that, man. They've given us the shiny new toys that we want, right? And then now the shiny new toys are broken. Yeah, they're not working as they should be. And we're going to go, oh, no, return it. Do we have the receipt?
Is a situation where both can be true, though. You can have a situation where the players are underperforming because they're the ones week to week not putting up to standard. But equally, you finished second last season. Did you buy the right players this season? And that comes from the strategic direction of the club. So, you know what I mean? The players can only play to the level of their potential, which at the moment they're not. That's why it's their fault. But equally, have Man United was buying Ronaldo the smartest thing from a footballing term. So, you know what I mean? That's why I asked the question. Is it more of a situation where both parties are at fault, but, fans are of the view that we can't sack a whole team every time we're in a bad run, but we can blame the owners? Like, is it just easier to blame the owners?
Yeah, I believe it's easier to blame the owners. Yes, look, I know they're not great owners.
Yeah, I hear.
But they've given us what we want, and yeah, all right, I agree to the extent that Ronaldo isn't the best signing. I don't believe he's the greatest signing that we shouldn't have done it. Like, this is the romance. That's right. This romance is a greater romance than the Lukaku romance you were talking about the other. This is the romance. Okay, not the Lukaku story. This is a romance between his former club. Right? I get that part. I was up to 2:00 in the morning messaging my mates. We were pumped for it. But then, in hindsight, you look back and you go, maybe it wasn't. But I'm not blaming everything on him. He's not the problem, but he's a problem. And there are greater problems at the club, but it's just, as fans, I don't know what goes on up in the boardroom, man. And frankly, I don't care. I care what goes on for 90 minutes on the pitch.
Yeah.
Because
George,
that's what makes or breaks my week.
Let's wrap this segment up. Look, they're not going to get rid of the Glazers. We know that. Tom knows that too. He knows that the Glazers aren't going anywhere anytime soon. But let's look at the here and now. There's half a season left in the Premier League. We are in January. George, maybe one or two things that you think could get your season back on track, or do you think it's too late?
It's definitely not too late, but where I saw our weakness at the start of the season and still now is our midfield. Literally, be it on paper and performance, half the league has a better midfielder than us. And dominating that midfield battle is so important to winning games in the Premier League. And that's unfortunately why even when we've won games, we've struggled to do it. And as we saw against a team like Wolves, where on paper, everywhere else in the park, we're better than them, they dominated us. And for that reason, I don't think, but we're in January now. In an ideal world, would be able to bring in a top-class midfielder. Those deals don't happen in January.
Yep.
We've just got to maximize what we do have and hope that the good outweighs the bad. And I'm almost at the point of saying where our best chance of making Champions League is going in the run in the Champions League if our league form continues the way it is.
You're having a laugh there, aren't you, George? Come on, mate.
Oh, am I really though? We're more like, it's luck of the draw. If we keep falling away in the league, we could be in the Conference League, if not worse.
Mate, you could be like Spurs, and I know you don't want that. George, we appreciate you coming on, man. Take care. And we're going to go to you, Emad, now. Just, again,
Thanks,
same question as George. We're in January. We're halfway through the season. You've got Ragnick there now. What are you going to do about it? What can they do realistically to help fix this?
I mean, George is right in terms of the January transfer window. It's the most difficult window to get a decent name, like a big name player.
And the price.
And the price, exactly. You're taking a player away halfway through their season. You know, depending on what their contract looks like, a club may be willing to sell if they're coming towards the last 6 months of their contract. But 9 times out of 10, we're going to be... And United overpay for everyone anyway.
Yeah.
So...
January is a desperation window. Like I said, they're throwing out the rumours about Neves again. We were talking about him at the start of the season. He's got 2 years at Wolves. I reckon they're gonna give him to us for 35 million. No chance.
Not a chance.
No chance at all.
But you know what? They're talking about Wijnaldum to Arsenal on a loan. Surely someone like Genie Wijnaldum slots into your midfield and does better than any of the schmucks you've got there at the moment.
Oh, he does, but we don't.
Why could Arsenal potentially get him, but not United? And
because we don't get players on loan. That's too good of a deal for us to get a loan player. We'd go and spend too much money on someone, and then we'd rather loan someone out.
What about someone like I said the other night, a Brozovic? He's coming at the end of his contract, 29. Why Inter in a troublesome financial situation? Why wouldn't he be someone you'd look at? Or an Aurelian Tchouameni? I know Chelsea are tracking him. He's someone that seems to represent good value. He's absolutely killing it over in France. Like, you guys, it seems like anyone, even if you pay overs, is going to be an upgrade. You know what I mean? So it's just, do you take a gamble, flip the coin and hope for what you've got will survive enough to the end of the season? Or do you pay overs and, you know, even if you get a subpar deal, just enough to make sure that this season doesn't totally collapse on you?
Look, it's too smart of a decision, RJ. It sounds perfect. The Tchouameni kid, he's young. Go out and offer him something. Or Brozovic, he's got the experience. Go out. No, that's what I mean. This is the Glazer thing again. Are they going to go back, give him the money to go do that? No, he's not going to sell shirts. Who's Tchouameni? To Manchester United fans that don't know him, that's how they think. But is he gonna? Are people going to tune in? Are people going to tune in to watch him, or people going to tune into or are people going to get more clicks on there if we're linked to Neves this week? You know what I mean? It's just
or Declan Rice. Just keep telling people Declan Rice is on the card.
100%. Yeah. It's just look. I'll be amazed if we get anyone this window. All I can say is a couple outs. If I'm being honest.
Hey, mate, give us your closing thoughts.
I wouldn't sign anyone this window. If I was Ralph, I'd be changing the system. I'll be playing with the way he plays at the moment. You've got Bruno playing in a position that he doesn't suit him, playing a bit further out wide.
Or not
he needs
starting.
But he was suspended and he's got to come back and he come off the bench. I understand that. I had no issue with him not starting the other morning. But to play him in that 4-2-2, that position there alone doesn't suit him. Unpopular opinion, I wouldn't be playing a certain someone. So
who's that?
It's for protection, mate. You can't say it. That's right.
That's all right, man. I'm Lebanese. I'm well protected.
Go on.
Yeah, I wouldn't be playing Ronaldo, to be honest. But how are you going to bench him? You can't bench him.
No, you can't.
Like we've got Mason Greenwood, who everyone, and Scotty, you brought this up the other morning or the other podcast, sorry. That everyone's gassed up as England's next best thing and United's next best striker, but we don't even play the kid in striker.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Matt, just quickly before we wrap it up, you don't play Ronaldo, you lose the game. What's the first thing people are going to come out and say?
Where's Ronaldo?
Where's Ronaldo? United lose, Ronaldo sitting on the bench, and then you're gonna get all the other poison. Ronaldo's gonna leave in the next window. Ronaldo this, Ronaldo that. It's just that's football.
what about? But you can. But that argument works both ways, man. What about the games we've played Ronaldo and we lost?
I know, but how many times has he come up clutch and kept us alive this season, especially in the Champions?
Yeah, but
He'd be out of the Champions League.
my opinion on that. Honestly, I know he's done wonder goals in the Champions League, last minute winners, and all that stuff. If we don't play him all together, I don't think we need a clutch moment in the 90th minute. I think we have those games
overall.
I think we have those games dead and buried, done and dusted.
Yeah.
That's
Hey,
my
mate,
opinion.
it's been good to put a face to a name, man. It's been a pleasure. Make sure you stay out of trouble, all right? We'll see you next week.
See ya,
Preston's finest, mate.
Take it easy, man.
See you, boys.
Yeah.
Boys, hour and 10 minutes. Phone-ins. Tell you what, it's always good fun. Welcome Eric as well. We know Eric's just joined us. Pleasure to have you here, man. We did some good Chelsea talk earlier, Eric, and we've got Matt as well. Matt, what's happening, man? We like I was saying, we did some great Chelsea talk with Dan Hill. We had declared on RJ giving his views. So make sure you go back and watch that segment tomorrow. I'm sure you guys will enjoy it. It's been a blast, guys. It's been real good fun. We've obviously got a bit of a break from football, but we'll be back on Tuesday. I don't know if there was much left to cover. There was the transfer of Trippier, Kieran Trippier to Newcastle. Just quickly, RJ, your thoughts on that? Good signing for them?
Absolutely. He's a leader. He's got experience. He's played under some good managers. They could use someone of his caliber in that team. So I think he's going to provide them with a lot of those intangibles. And at the heart of it, he's still a very good football player. So I'm quite keen now, thanks to Football Capital. Go check them out. But for me, I think now what the interesting thing is, what is the effect now of Trippier's signing? Can they back it up with another one or two now and really start to change the foundation and the core of that team? So we'll see.
Robbie, I'm going to ask you this every stream. Are they still going down?
Yes. And I'm going to answer the same every stream, mate.
Just bring a sign, Robbie, every week. Two are going down.
What's it going to take to change your mind?
Start winning games.
If they win their next match, they're out of the relegation zone.
I don't know. If they lose or if they draw the next match, then they're still in the relegation like they had to be most of the season. But what can I say? Their form is thing. I told you, I don't think anyone's going to come in and superman them.
You're blinded by your hatred, Robbie. It's an agenda, man.
I don't hate Newcastle. I just think I made a decision and I'm not going to change it until I see something that's going to make me change my mind. Simple as that.
Oh, good. Look, we as well. This one from Daniel. Insigne. I know we're a Premier League podcast mainly, but when a player like that goes to Toronto, what the hell? Obviously, you two are going to know more about this than me, being the proud Italians on the stream. Robbie, what the hell is going on with this transfer?
Shocked, yes, but it's easy enough to say 12 million a season for 5 years at 30 years old. Would you knock it back? Simple as that. You're talking about people going to relegation in Newcastle for big money. He's the captain of Napoli. He's won trophies at Napoli, which is a massive thing, and he's won just to come off of Euros. If someone's going to come in at 30 years old and offer you 12 million a season for 5 years, are you going to say no? Yes or no? Simple. It's simple as that. Will it hurt his international career? Possibly. But like I said, he just won a major trophy with the national team. He's 30 years old. Maybe he's happy to take that next step and take the money. Can't blame him. That's it.
He's a success story, mate. He's felt he's achieved what he can, and now he's enjoying his payday, mate. I have nothing but respect for him. He's done great things. He was an important part of our Euro-winning squad, and I wish him all the best. That's all I could say. It's a shame for the Serie A because I still think at the heart of it, he's still a good football player. And it's Napoli's loss. It's Italy's loss, like Serie A, I mean. And a lot of other teams, I'm sure, would have been happy to take him on. But credit to Toronto as well for putting their money where their mouth is and helping him try to improve their team.
Yeah, the other quick thing I like is I like how it's at the end of the season because, Napoli still technically are in a Scudetto fight. He's the captain of the club. I like how he's going to give it to the end of the season. And I know he's a player that will. He's the captain. Whatever happens, he's going to, like I said, he's done his service for the club. He's moving to another league, which I've seen a lot of Napolitanos are happy that he's not going to move into another Italian team or another European team as well. He's going to go to a different conference. wish him well. Simple as that.
Yeah, but I'm sure Lukaku would agree. But Inter fans are the best, Robbie. Doesn't matter about the Napoli fans, mate. Okay.
Look,
Boys, this
RJ,
one-
don't make me put a gun behind your back and start talking.
Or Aubameyang to Newcastle. I actually called this a couple of weeks back, but nothing concrete, just some paper talk. But just to reiterate, if there's anyone that's going to afford his wages, it's Newcastle. And they sign him, they've got a player for point to prove. So there were also, I don't know if did you see these boys, the ones about
I've seen it
Aubameyang?
too. Him in Melbourne City or something.
Mate, just trolling. Absolute just trolling there.
Scotty, just quickly, I said the last week's stream, Aaron Ramsey is in a protection box and he's on his way out of Juve. I don't know where yet. I had said it's a shout for Newcastle, but even Allegri came out the other week, said he's not playing anymore. He's protected so he doesn't get injured. He's wrapped up in the box. I just don't know where they're going to send it yet, but he will be on his way out this window.
And also on a
Newcastle.
Chelsea front, obviously the big talks about the defender situation. So Antonio Rudiger, Andreas Christensen, these are Thiago Silva signed an extension. The man that seems to age in reverse, or as Thomas Tuchel said, the Thiago Button of football. I've heard some positive developments in terms of trying to lock down Antonio Rudiger now. So that could actually, in a week of turmoil for the Blues, that could be one of the big highlights. So if we can lock him down, he was amazing again this morning against Spurs. That would be very big for us because he's entering his prime years right now.
Pay him what he wants and he'll stay. I think it's pretty simple. You can afford it. Do the deal because you're not going to sign someone better. So I think they just need to make it happen. Another guy whose name has been popping up a lot is this man, Coutinho.
Yeah.
He's been linked to Arsenal. He's been linked to Villa. I don't know if he's been linked to your clubs. I know he's been linked to Spurs as well. Do you think Coutinho could still do it in the Premier League, or is he past his date?
No, I reckon he could do a job still. And to be honest, I actually think I could see him at an Arsenal. If it happens, is another story. But I could see him at an Arsenal. I think he would maybe take them to the next level. Definitely bolster the squad for squad depth anyway.
You think he could still do it, RJ? Would you take him at Chelsea? Or, I mean, you don't really need a player in that position, do you?
Look, we could always use someone of his versatility and attacking talents because he can obviously sit as a number 10. He can drift he can drift out to the flanks. He's got a lot of creative flair. To be honest with you, we could do a lot worse. But that said, it's not one of our priority positions. Clearly, the wing-back situations, the centre-back, and then the centre midfield, particularly the long-term, with Kante being on and off, and players like Billy Gilmore potentially being sold if we're not able to recall him back next season. So, yeah, for me, good player. We'd definitely take him, but it's not a priority by any means.
Before we move on to the next couple of rumours I wanted to get through, down there, don't forget to smash that like button. There's been good numbers tonight. If you're new to the channel, please make sure you hit subscribe on the way in or on the way out. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps us a great deal. We are on the road to 500, and we are getting there slowly but surely. So please subscribe, share it with a mate. We appreciate any of that support. I just wanted to mention and give some credit to Jake over at We Are the Arsenal. Check out, I did a stream with him this morning analysing some of Arsenal's transfer targets. We spoke about Jonathan Isak. We spoke about Vlahovic. We spoke about David. We spoke about some good players there. Do you think, as two Serie A fans, that Vlahovic would be able to come in and set the league on fire, or do you think there's a bit of Serie A tax?
Yes, simple as that. He would.
Why, Robbie? Now, I haven't seen much of him. I know you've seen more. Tell me a little bit about him.
Yeah, again, I think we said it previously in the last one. Young, hungry, clinical finisher, and he's made it more than obvious, both for him and Fiorentina, that he wants to move to the next level. And what I told you, when you get noticed more when you're at a club and at a Fiorentina, who's a mid-table club, and you're smashing goals in like that, and you're becoming noticed. So yes, I told you, whoever's going to get him, it's going to be at least 70 million, I think. And I actually think the deal that you guys have offered, I think it's 50 million plus. Can't remember which player it was. I think that's the best offer they've had at the moment. So yeah, unless they get something like that or 70 million, I can see him staying to the end of the season. He's winding down his contract, and someone big's going to offer him some big dollars.
RJ, do you think he'd come into the league and do a job?
I think so. I think he's like I said, he's got age on his side. He's a physical character. I think that's so important in the Premier League. He's a big guy. He's explosive. That's an interesting comment there, Martin.
Martin.
Mate, he could be. You never know if these Spurs fans do, if they're just having a bit of a laugh, like their own goals this morning. Just kidding. But look, for me, he would hit the ground. He would hit the ground running. I'm happy to put that on the record. He's a top player. This is a good shout, actually.
You know
it's
what?
A good shout.
If that happened, mate, I'm telling you, that would be good for the rest of the league.
Well, it's interesting, and I just want to mention the show from this morning. Check it out. It's on my socials. I know what Jake did. He pulled up the heat maps for a bunch of strikers. He put up, the XG stats, the aerial stats. Like Vlahovic seems like the complete package, and I think he could come into pretty much any club in the Premier League and really take them to that next level. I would be nervous if City got him, but 100%. I don't know. There hasn't been much talk, and sometimes that's scarier than when there is a lot of paper talk because deals can come out of nowhere. But look, he's certainly one to watch. Have you heard any United rumours, Robbie, before we wrap it up and do some quick fires?
Like I said, very, very quiet. Neves, he's been leaking his name around. The Kamara one, a couple people that not very big names from the Bundesliga or from the Red Bull franchise because, obviously the Ralph links. But
yeah,
I told you, I can't. I'll be amazed or very surprised if anything happens. I think that we might see 1, 2, possibly 3 on the out.
Boys, an hour and 21 minutes. I think this one of our longest ever.
It's as long as Tottenham's trophyless run. Nah, just look, I say this through tongue in cheek because I got the comments in the chat, but it's all love. We know that we've got the best Spurs fans in this channel, but that's the last drive I'll make for now.
Just quickly, I know it was the last week, but how good was it that on Twitter and etc. last week after they scored the goal and done the Spider-Man celebrations, like Spurs no trophies at home or something? I love that. That was great.
They're putting the spider webs in the trophy cabinet.
That's the one as well.
In the mud.
Oh, jeez. No, there's been
We
some
love
good
you,
stuff.
Martin. We love you. Keep coming back.
We do, and Alex as well. We're
Alex.
family. Don't abandon us. Hey, quickly, I know we talk football, but Novak Djokovic. What about that? Come on, Robbie, you're a big fanboy. You tell us your thoughts on Djokovic very quickly, and we are doing these quick fires. This is the last thing we're talking about.
Mate, won't speak a bad word about him. I'm actually spewing that he's not coming back because I'm telling you, that's a conspiracy theory to keep him from his great status, mate.
He could be. I think it's going to court.
It could be. Like,
yeah, that's a good one.
Ways, at the end of the day, he shouldn't be allowed in the country because it's said when someone makes a rule, you don't make an exception. But there's a very high chance that if he was to be in the tournament, a very high chance he would have won it and he would have taken over the two greats. So, like I said, I'm a fan and I'm not going to be able to watch him. What's that?
All he needed was a vaccine to potentially help him. Maybe he was worried about them finding something in his bloodstream.
Controversial. We can't bring politics into it. Everyone, that's it. We can't bring politics into it.
No vax.
Look, he knows his way around
the Joker.
Court, so he knows his way around the court. So let's just say they've served him. Let's see if he can return the serve.
That's right.
RJ, any quick thoughts? Or you want to jump into quick fires?
No, we've made enough of a racket. But look, for me, my question is, I've watched a good action movie today on Foxtel. It was just a Jason Statham classic. It's actually an underrated movie called Wrath of Man. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to ask a couple of action-based questions. So firstly, tell me 3 action movies you love and recommend to the panel or to the live chat.
Yeah. I'll go first quickly.
No, you go.
Can it be a franchise or has to be a specific movie?
No, just 3 movies. And they could be within a franchise, but just whatever.
Off the top of my head, I'll go Tuxedo because I love Jackie Chan.
Nice.
I like Keanu Reeves, so I might go one of What's the movies he's in?
John
all the
Wick.
time? John Wick. Pick one of them. And it does have to be 3, does it? But
Yeah, well,
Scotty,
if you don't have 3, but
Scotty, come back. I'll try and think of one more to wrap it up.
Just to buy you some time, just some comments from the chat. Stu, always a pleasure to have you here. Look, we do our best to bring you great content. There are a lot of great people who have come on this stream tonight who put out content. So please try and support each and every one of them, because we know what it's like to put out content and get love in return. It's always nice. So we are back next on Tuesday. It probably will be a quick one, just doing some transfer updates. Alex, surely there's a Spurs pod. Oh, no, mate, just keep coming here. Just keep coming here. Don't worry about that.
They had one, but they bottled it. Nah, just kidding. Sorry.
Declared
he's
no
on fire tonight.
Marvel movies.
Yeah, I love all my Marvel movies, but because you classify them as just action movies, I'm not sure. I love all my Marvel movies, not Die Hard.
Yeah. Here, like he says, smash the likes, guys. Help us get this up. For me, my action movies, I'm going with Die Hard.
Classic.
Love that movie. Can't
Which
go
one,
past
Scott? Which one? Which number?
The original and the best, man.
Yeah.
The original and the best. Die Hard, I'm going with... I know it's going to sound probably a bit silly, but I like Never Back Down. The original one. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Good fighting movie. Third one. Oh, geez. The third one's a tough one. Maybe Mission Impossible. I really like Ghost Protocol from the Mission Impossible franchise. So, they're mine. What about you, RJ?
Yeah, I love the whole Bloodsport, Die Hard sort of shouts. I'd throw in there the Expendables. I thought that was an awesome sort of. It's a bit comic, but I just thought that's high octane action.
It was just pure action.
Yeah, that's what I love. It was just a bit of a Mickey Mouse.
Cobra Kai boys. Had to get a shout out.
Yeah, well, Karate Kid as a movies, that whole franchise was awesome as well.
Yes.
But even a lot of the Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, not just Bloodsport, Wrong Bet, Kickboxer. I grew up all the Rocky movies.
I was just about to say Rocky movies. Apollo, I like the Apollo movies as well.
Yes, exactly. So, and then second one, very quickly, who would you, if you were in an action movie, who would you want to play your character? Which actor would you want to play you in an action movie?
Well, does it have to be a lookalike or just anyone?
No. It's a good point. No, it could be anybody. It doesn't have to be a lookalike.
Jackie Chan's my favorite, so I'll go Jackie Chan. I love Jackie Chan.
Mate, would have to be Steven Seagal for me. I mean, he's kind of let himself go now. He's a bit of a loose unit. Yeah, it has to be him. Hey, Robbie, just answer this one for Justin. I know you watch both of these. Money Heist or Cobra Kai? What should he watch first?
Oh, well, one's 4, 5 parts and one's 4, so it just depends. I'll go Money Heist if you want to go in for a long haul, man, because it's going to take you a while to get through them. But they're both crackers.
All right. What about you, RJ? Who'd be playing you, mate?
Well, if we're going to pick lookalikes, I'd obviously pick The Rock. No, in all seriousness, I would probably say, definitely, I'd probably say Jean-Claude Van Damme is awesome.
Nice. All right, here's my one. We've all got kids, boys, so was there a name you wanted that you weren't allowed to have that was off the tables? For me, I wanted to name my son Thierry. I've told you boys that I was desperate for his name to be Thierry, but the wife was, it was no. Did you have a name that was forbidden, RJ, Robbie?
No, I was quite lucky because my first daughter, Alyssa, we both liked the name, but my missus had another name she liked more. And then we had another girl, so I said, yeah, you can have the second one, which I love anyway, Eliana. But yeah, no, like I said, if it was more, we didn't have a boy, and if it was going to be a boy, Luca and Marco were right up there. So, yeah.
I thought you were going to say Lukaku.
Yeah, I'll give
Lukaku.
you Lukaku.
RJ?
Well, for me, being in our culture, having a boy, the name was already picked, man. Like it was going to be after my dad. It was always going to be the case because that's how we do things in our household. And some traditions live longer than others. So I'd go him, or I probably would have picked Frank for sure.
Mayfa, your little fella reminds me of Gattuso. He needed to be little Gattuso, mate.
He's a wind-up merchant. Honestly, talk about Cobra Kai. I'm worried if he watches that, I'm in trouble. He started watching Dragon Ball Z now. Bad decision.
Love it.
Will Smith, good shout.
Robbie, did you have one?
Yeah, just last minute one, boys. Which saga would you prefer to watch, or did you enjoy more? Pirates of the Caribbean or Lord of the Rings, if you watched them?
Oh, Lord of the Rings to me. I love the books as well. I'm a bit of a nerd for
Yeah,
things like
same.
that.
RJ?
Yeah, I'd go Harry Potter. No, I know that wasn't one of the questions.
I didn't
but
put
one
it
of
in
the
there on
answers.
purpose. I knew you were going to go
Yeah,
for that.
stitch up, mate. I would have went that for sure. 20th anniversary, by the way. My answer,
Yes.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I'm same thing. The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. And my last one, just on I love my food, just something different.
Yes, food question. Where's
Favorite-
E-Man?
Yeah, I was thinking of it, man. Favorite soup.
Probably
It's got
the one
like
you
short
chuck-
soup.
Yeah, I would say short soup, but I'm not the biggest soup fan. Although I know mine, I make this a pea and bacon one. Not a fan of pea and bacon. I am a fan of pea and bacon soup. E-Man.
For me,
He's still here.
I know he loves it. That's why we put these questions in. For me, it's beef tortellini in a it's like an Italian soup called a brodo. So it's like a
With the
chicken
meatballs.
stock. Yeah, I love it, man. It's the best. So
So,
yeah,
I had it tonight,
chicken
but
brodo.
chicken and corn is right up there as well. I do enjoy that one.
Yeah,
Wrap
it's
it up,
on.
boys.
There we go. Right, we are back on Tuesday evening. Like we said, we always say it might be a short show, and then we end up going an hour and 30 minutes. So, look, who knows what kind of show it'll be? We know we'll be talking transfers, and between now and then, I'm sure there'll be plenty of stuff that happens in the crazy world of football. So, we are back on Tuesday. We do Tuesdays, Thursdays at the same time. If you're new, please hit subscribe, share it with a friend. Please hit the like button. It's been absolutely banging tonight. So a massive thank you to everyone who has tuned in, who's come on the stream. Please don't be shy. You're all welcome every time we do these call-ins. Robbie, any closing words?
No, look, just mirror exactly what you said. Banging in a live chat tonight. It was great to have a lot of guests from all three clubs. Like I said, everyone's all welcome, and I always enjoy seeing a new face or putting a face to the name. So, as always, boys, we'll see you next week. Can't wait. Or next episode.
All I'll say is tonight was a trophy-winning performance.
Well, not for some of our friends in the live chat. Boys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you again. Take care and enjoy. I'd say enjoy your football, but there is none. Enjoy some time off, rest and relaxation. See you later.